Today's Patreon shoutout goes to Z. Volo Guide to Monsters versus Kodama of the East Tree and Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, Asika, God of the Tree, and Kythian, Hero of Akros. We have... yeah, as long as we keep the Birds of Paradise, we'll be okay. I don't think anyone's going to remove the bird, so we will keep that. Kythian getting down Champion of the Parish, so it's likely this will either be a soldier deck or a humans deck, maybe human soldiers. And then it's just some tap lands from our other opponents. There is a Solemn Simulacrum, so getting more ramp, we will shock in the breeding pool and go for a Birds of Paradise. And then pray that we keep that. Another human soldier coming into play. When this and at least two other creatures attack, you get a soldier token with lifelink, deciding not to swing in with the 2/2. Missing a land drop there as well, which is noteworthy. Just a land from the Simic player, and we do manage to keep our Birds of Paradise, so that's really good. We will go straight in for the Kodama's Reach. So we'll just grab one of each colour here. Obviously we've made a land this turn, so the island will be for next turn. We can go 1, 2, 3, 4 mana for the Skyshroud Claim, brings in 2 mana untapped. We'll have 3 with the Guy's Cradle. Yeah, I don't think we'll be able to do anything. It depends on what we draw next turn. Kythian, Hero of Akros, could flip into Gideon the next turn. And they are deciding to start swinging in now. One goes in at the Kodama and Sakashima, that is the 3 damage. And then one at the Asika. Coalition Relic from Asika, managing to make lots of different colours there. And immediately putting a charge counter on it. So I think it's quite likely that we'll be seeing the Prismatic Bridge next turn. We just don't know what type of Prismatic Bridge deck this is. Oh, that's a shame. The Simic player might end up early scooping on us because they either just skip their turn accidentally or they are missing lands. Okay, and it's just another land for us. We'll play the land that our opponents know about. And we'll play the Skyshroud Claim because that will get more mana into play than a Solemn Simulacrum. And with that, we can just hold up mana for the Decisive Denial, I think. Maybe should have tapped down the Guy's Cradle because it's more likely that that will have removal pointed at it. And then we won't be able to hold up the Decisive Denial. Also holding on to the Solemn Simulacrum for after our Volo enters play, of course. A Hanweir Militia Captain comes down from our opponent. That's a favourite of mine. You can make a lot of tokens with that. Yeah, if we had a creature with 1 power, we'd be able to get rid of the Kythian before it turns into Gideon, but that's not happening yet, unfortunately. We get another creature into play, doing a lot with only 2 mana. So the 4/4 comes in at us, the 1/1 to the right, and the 2/1 Kythian down the middle. So Kythian flips over, but I don't think they actually plussed on Kythian there. They could have done. Decided not to do anything with the Kythian there. Could have had some extra loyalty. And the Coalition Relic triggers over here. I think if they go for the Prismatic Bridge, then Decisive Denial is a good enough counterspell to go after that. Really don't want our opponent landing one of those. Instead it is a Skyshroud Claim. Argument to be made for us countering that. I don't really want to mess with people's mana because Magic Online players are delicate enough with early scoops as it is. And if you mess up their ramp and colours, then yeah, they're even more likely to scoop on you. A Thaumatic Compass as well. That is the one that is... yeah, that's the Maze of Ith. Once again, the Kodama and Sakashima player not doing too well here, unfortunately. I'm just wondering if they'll be able to get down the Prismatic Bridge with 3 additional mana to pay for the Decisive Denial. Well, we'll worry about that when we come round to it. That is a Mana War. So we could bounce the Hanweir Militia Captain so that they've got less tokens coming into play. Yeah, well, let's see about getting Volo down first. And then we'll play the Forest. And we can go for the Mana War as well. And still hold up the Decisive Denial, so I think that's what we go for here. So grabbing a copy of the Mana War, we will definitely bounce the Hanweir Militia Captain. Then the original enters play, will bounce the Champion of the Parish as well, because that is the biggest creature, and They can recast it easy enough, but it is difficult to get the plus counters on it and keep them on if we keep bouncing. So we'll leave it like that and pass. We don't have any haste, so we can't go in towards the Gideon. So Champion of the Parish coming in again. They managed to make another land, so that's good. And just replaying the same creatures once more, so managing to buy a turn from the mono white player there. So the Gideon being activated here, and it turns into a 4/4. And swinging in the Gideon straight towards us. And the 1/1 goes in at the Simic player. I think we'll just take a hit here. Although I don't suppose there's anything to be gained from keeping the Mana War in play. Yeah, let's just throw away the token Mana War. Try and conserve our life total as best we can. Thaumatic Compass being activated here, so yeah, maybe they'll still tap out for the bridge. They went in for a Plains and played that straight away. Charge counter on the relic, so not going for their commander. Instead it is a Heliod, God of the Sun, and I suppose that tells us what type of deck this is. It must be a God tribal deck. Once again the Simic player struggling. Discarding some of the bigger stuff here. Okay, Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Maybe this will help the Simic player. They might have a Rampant Growth or something like that in hand. Why don't we go Gaia's Cradle in for the Zendikar Resurgent. That will allow us to go in for the Solemn Simulacrum by tapping only 2 lands. So we'll draw a card from the Zendikar Resurgent, and we will get 2 Rampant Growths here, so not bad for only 4 mana. And with Yavimaya in play, we might as well just go for basic islands. I don't think anyone's going to blow up the Yavimaya, and all the islands are going to be tropical islands thanks to Yavimaya. We drew into Panharmonicon, which is relevant. So maybe it's Deadeye Navigator and Panharmonicon shenanigans next turn. Anyhow, we'll swing a couple of creatures in right down the middle. And this time our opponent does get the Hanweir Militia Captain to flip around. A Bounty Agent coming into play for the Human Soldier player. Authority of the Consuls as well. Alright, I missed who was attacked there, apologies. Yeah, the Westvale leader making a token. Gideon was pointed at the Volo, I think. There's a bit of pettiness going on in the chat because I'm not auto-yielding through people's turns because I have to hold up priority with the decisive denial. And then I'm always a little bit behind on the clock as well because I have to commentate and stuff, explain the game to all of you. But this player is getting a little bit salty over it because they're not drawing into the cards and they're not really getting to play. So being accused of slow play at the moment, didn't quite get what was going on in the combat step there. Prismatic Bridge, they are holding up mana there. I think we'll just go for the decisive denial if people are going to cry at us for holding up priority. Not the ideal way to play, obviously, but yeah, if it keeps people around, then I will F6 through all my turns now that I'm not holding up counter magic. Anyway, of course they do pay for that, so the Prismatic Bridge comes into play. And the Spires of Arazkert does come down as well. Finally getting into the third land that I assume they needed to maybe catch up on mana here. And after that they get down an Exploration, which I'm assuming they haven't been able to play thanks to the lack of green mana. They get down Lotus Cobra as well. And there is a Brutalizer Exarch, so we can go for... probably go after the Prismatic Bridge with that. Let's see about throwing a Panharmonicon into play first. And that will trigger the Zendikar Resurgent, will draw a card, and Volo will of course trigger, so we'll get 2 copies of this, and then each copy will trigger twice thanks to the Panharmonicon. So we could search for a creature here, I suppose, on one of them, and then draw into it with the Zendikar Resurgent. So yeah, let's do that, and this one can get rid of the Prismatic Bridge. They do enter tapped thanks to Authority of the Consuls, and I think as some card draw we should go for Karuga here, and then the other Brutalizer Exarch will come into play, and we can get rid of the Gideon here, I think. And do we want to search for another creature? No, I think I'll go for Authority of the Consuls on that as well, because no one ever wants to remove this, and it does gain a hell of a lot of life. The tap creatures can be relevant as well. Don't think we need to worry about hasty creatures coming into play. Okay, so with that we'll throw down a Karuga. So drawing a card from the Zendikar Resurgent, we'll get 2 Karugas, but we'll only get to keep the original one. So it's 2 triggers. We will draw, I don't know how many cards from each trigger. Oh, a lot apparently. Potentially could draw too many, an infinite hand size here would be nice. So the original one comes in, that triggers twice as well. Alright, and we haven't made a land yet, so do we have Reliquary Tower? We don't have Reliquary Tower or Thought Vessel in hand, unfortunately. We'll certainly get down the Mana Crypt. And how's about we go for one of these new cards that I've added? This is the Mind Flayer. So again, we'll draw a card. And it was an Acidic Slime that time, so Mind Flayer triggers. We will take the... certainly take the Lotus Cobra. Let's take the Westvale Cult Leader as well. I think it would be a good idea to take the Bounty Agent also. Then the original one will enter. We will take that Bounty Agent, like I said. And let's steal away the Hasdar Marshal. Yeah, we get some lifelinkers with that, so let's take that one as opposed to Champion of the Parish. And then we can't make a copy of the Reliquary Tower with Clever Impersonator. Yeah, it's a non-land permanent with that. So we will go for, let's just drop Alchemist's Refuge, make a mana with the Lotus Cobra, and that means we can go 3 visits here, I think is okay, for a basic forest. Enters will make a blue mana, and then we'll probably just end the turn soon. And then I do want to be holding up counter magic still, so I'll go for the Growing Rites of Itlamok, which we will easily flip this turn. Okay, there's an Uro, which should be a good idea, I think. We'll probably cast the Uro, actually, so put that in hand. Rest go on the bottom in any order. Probably won't cast it this turn, actually. I think I had a Signet in hand. Yes, I did, so we'll play the Signet and just pass at that. Very conscious of my opponents worrying about us taking too long here. And we haven't even attacked yet, so let's continue to go in towards the God player. So at the end of the turn, Growing Rites of Itlamok will flip over into a better Gaia's Cradle. And we do get a Cleric token as well. Now unfortunately, for our opponents, we do have to discard to hand size. Okay, and just as I got down to 7 cards in hand there, I just kind of frantically clicked as best I could. My opponents have decided to scoop to that. Just for transparency's sake, let's have a look here. I said casual and don't quit early. Yeah, it's turn 7 and I don't know. This is the tricky thing that I always try to maneuver with Magic Online. Sometimes if I say casual, some people bring decks that aren't EDH, if you know what I mean. And then other times it's jank. Like there's a difference between casual and jank in my opinion. But then other people think that casual equals jank. So yeah, I've just come up against some players that weren't too happy there. Again, for transparency, I will scroll through the chat here and you can have a look at the drama that was ensuing here. There's a bit of cattiness and bitchiness going on, because that's anonymity for you. Yeah, so the main reason that I was lagging behind is because I was having to hold priority during my opponent's turns thanks to the decisive denial, as you saw throughout the majority of the game. I can't auto-yield through my opponent's entire turns if I'm holding up counter magic, which means it just makes the game last a bit longer. I wonder if he would have been as impatient if he could have actually played. I understand that it's frustrating if you get to turn 7 and you only make your 3rd land on, like, you know, turn 6 or 7. But that's not my fault, it's no one's fault, it's just the way it goes sometimes. Assuming that no one had any board wipes there, it would have been ours to win anyway. This Volo deck is apparently a real grind to get games with, as I've told you all before, so hopefully showing you what it is supposed to do there. but there were no patrons around to play with today, so I am at the mercy of Magic Online randoms, and, well, you've seen how that went. Please be sure to leave it a thumbs up and share the video. It helps with YouTube's algorithms. You can support on Patreon via the link in the description below as well if you would like. That really helps the channel. So a massive thank you to you that do that, and those of you who decide to do that in the future. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.